Hello and welcome back. I wanted to give you an update and show you what we've been up to for the last couple of months. We made some progress, and we were specifically when it comes to parts and the nuts and bolts of the thing. So let's show you what we've got. We'll start out by showing we got some new tools. I went ahead and made the investment and bought a press. I did that because it was costing me $30 or $40 every time I was running it over the shop to get something pressed in or out. And I figured this thing would more than pay for itself, which I believe it already has. I got this off of, I think it was eBay. And it was about $180. I tried Harbor Freight. They didn't have anything that was reasonable, to be honest. So, and everything that they would have had that would have been more for my purposes, they didn't have it in stock, and they weren't supplying them anymore. So next to that, anyway, I kept one of the old brake calipers, the pistons here, if you can see, not the caliper but the piston, and I use that as a ram, which works out pretty good. And I'll show you some of the bushings I already got pressed. Wanted to talk for a minute about the suspension parts and what I decided to do as far as hardware is concerned. This is a control arm and the idler arm and the tie rods. I just got them nutted together just so, you know, start moving this stuff and where it's going to go and how it's going to go. And if you can see, I've been replacing the hardware. The more I fooled with trying to clean up the old nuts and bolts and washers and things like that, which is just, a lot of it is just standard metric, then it just seemed pointless to me, and I didn't really want to put all that back on the car anyway. So I'm just replacing, unless it's a specialty bolt or a fitting or something like that, I'm just finding out the size of the original, and I'm replacing it. If you can see here on this idler arm, the box right there, that bolt is the original. I had to get it out and clean it up. I bought a new one, but it didn't quite fit snug like the original, like the OEM, and I really wasn't comfortable about putting it back in there, so I used the original. And what I had to do is, because I already had this box, I already had it new, I had to cut that bolt out of the original. It was that in there that hard. It was no getting it out. So I cut that out and went ahead and replaced it. So that's where we are on that. I wanted to show you the battery box area. Went ahead and painted that. I know I had talked in the previous videos about painting that the same color as the car. It's just too difficult to get into. If I were going to do that, I really should have done that when I had the car up and on its side, where I would have had easier access to it. So that was a big no. So I went ahead and painted that black. And I've already started hanging some parts. If you can see in here, I don't know if it'll show up or not. Let's see. There's the brake failure switch. And I went ahead and it's cleaned up. It's like brand new. And I put a wire to it so I won't have trouble wiring it once I get everything in there. One of the things that I've decided to do is put these things back together in such an order that makes it easier for access. And you know that inside of here you've got the steering box, you've got the suspension parts, you've got the brake cylinder and the steering mechanism, and all that fits in there. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put them in from the bottom up, and that should make it easier than trying to you know, work over top of yourself or whatever. The brake lines go in here, and I wanted to show you what we did here. This actually is the original brake line that goes in here. There's two of them that run over from the brake failure switch over to the master cylinder. I cleaned those up. They really pretty much look like brand new. I run some brake fluid through them. No debris or anything like that in there. And if you can see, they're really a very difficult fit. And I did not want to try to bend around inside of there if I don't have to get that fit. So I'm reusing those, clean them all up. I think they'll be just fine. Let's see, that's the brake piping kit for the rest of the car. That's the only place I'm going to use the original. The rest of it I'm going to run all new, because I won't have the trouble. The other areas are more open. Famous last words. Let's see, we went ahead and put the steering column in, and it's not secured. Nothing that I've done so far is like torqued down or anything like that. I'm just putting things back together, and so I know where they go, and how I'm going to attack putting this thing back together. I got new brake reservoirs, if you can see, brake fluid reservoirs there. They're not like the original. The original, I think, were like a dual, where they were connected to each other, but I don't know if they don't make those anymore, but you can't get them. Not that I could find. If you can see on this steering column, though, I cleaned it all up, painted everything, all the wiring, everything has all been cleaned, and it looks really good. So, let's see what else we want to show you here. I've got a bunch of parts. Another thing, I wanted to make a recommendation. I know I've said I'm not a teacher, but I can recommend things, and I strongly recommend, if you're putting a car back together, getting yourself a good tap and die set. And what it's been really useful for me for is in replacing the nuts and bolts, like I talked about. I can get an accurate size of the thread pitch and so forth, and making sure that I buy the right replacement. So plus I can clean up the threads, which is some of these, the ones I'm reusing. It's really important. So I strongly recommend that. I think I got it at Harbor Freight, 30 or 40 bucks, I believe. Well worth the money, well worth it. You can see here's the rear shocks. Again, I'm replacing the hardware. I'm not going to put the old original in there. That's just a standard size nut and bolt setup. We've got our seat belts. I bought these out of Europe from Recombia, I think is the name of it. I think it was out of England, yeah. Anyway, they're just the 2-point system, the lap type that was in there originally, and so those will be ready to go in when the time comes. Also got our horns, got new horns. Let's see, Midwest Bayless had these. They were out of stock for a while, and they're a high and low tone. I think they're as close to the original as you're going to get. And again, I put new hardware on those, and I'm going to go ahead and run wires to them to make them easy to hook up when the time comes to install them. Our gearbox is pretty much ready to put back in. They did have a problem with the nut. Somehow the threads at the top of the screw there got damaged, and I could not even get a tap to start it. So what I had to do was grind it down on my grinder, and right over here, and that first thread, just so I could get it even and get the nut started, and then I was able to put a tap on it and get the nut on it. Now it's nice and easy to turn, moves smoothly. Don't ask me how it got damaged. And some of these I've seen where I think just the very act of taking them off, because they're so old and rusted, that it damages the thread. And that's another good reason why to get your tap and die set, so you can clean these things up. We got the brake pedal assembly here with the clutch. We've got new rubber, new pedals on them. Cleaned all that up, painted and everything. New spring, new brake light switch. Let's see what else have we got on here. I've gone ahead and attached the master cylinder. That way I can put it straight through the firewall there, and attach it as one assembly and not have to fight it, you know, in that area, or try to get up from under it or anything like that. Also got the plastic I don't know, outlet tubes, whatever you want to call them. Yeah, those are new. I guess this is the anybody knows for sure, but I'm pretty sure this is the neutral start safety switch for the clutch. I did not replace that, and I think it's fine. This is new though. This is new. Alrighty, and let's see, where are we now? We talked about our press, and here you can see pressed out the old bushing and pressed in the new one. And this is what it is here. This is what it looks like out. I want to give a shout out to Eldest Builds, because I strongly suspected that the original, that bronze sleeve that was in there, had to be cut out, and he verified that for me, and that's what I had to do. I had to take my Sawzall and very carefully put a couple of cuts in there, and then once you get that out of it, then I was able to put it on my press. It's very difficult even having your own press, because it's an odd piece, it's an odd shape, but we got it in. Now, I haven't done this spindle yet, for the reason that if you notice on this one, there's a Zerk fitting up there, there's a grease fitting, and this one doesn't have it, and I don't know what happened to it. It wasn't on the car, not that I remember, and I'm not really sure what I want to do on that. And the reason why is because the only place I've seen you can get that cap and that fitting, it comes with the Kingpin kit. So I'd have to buy the whole Kingpin pin kit just to get that cap and fitting. And I don't have to make up my mind if I want to do that or not. So we'll see on that. The other thing, of course, we've got all of our parts together. These are rear drum parts, tie rod, new tie rod connectors, the sleeves. These are the rubber bushings that go on the brake fluid reservoir, along with new clips for that. New spindle nuts and the washers. Let's see, what else have we got here? On this, I don't know if you remember this or not. This is, I believe, for the rear sway arm. And this is the original. Now, this one was just like this, but this one was completely bent over and misshapen. And I literally had to heat it with a torch and beat on it and use this one as a guide, and that's as close as I could get, and I'm pretty sure that's going to work just fine. The main thing was getting these holes back in the place they were supposed to. I don't know if the guy, whoever owned the car, ran over something. I don't know. But anyway, it's back in shape now and painted and ready to put back in. I've been cleaning up some bolts and hardware as I go along. These go to the flex joint. I cleaned them up on the wire wheel. I didn't want to replace these. These were in pretty good shape. They just were a little dirty and rusty. Cleaned those up and rubbed them down some oil. I think they're fine. I did get door hinge bushing kits. Again, Midwest Bayless got them back in. Now these are the plastic. Gonna need that. And also, I think this is for the clutch linkage. So I went ahead and got that. If I can get the hardware new, that's the way I'm gonna go. I just feel better about it. Here's the other thing I did want to talk about a little bit, was the paint, the auto paint store. I didn't even know they would do this for you, but they will mix up the paint that you're using and put it into a spray can for you. And it was a little pricey. I got 2 cans of it, but it was really good, because some of these areas, like up under the trunk and up under the dash, it was impossible to get with the gun. You know, there's just, you get the big hose and the coupling and everything on there. It just doesn't want to, you know, get up under there. So that was really good for that. And so that might be an option you might want to keep in mind when you're doing one. So anyway, like I said, I'd like to shout out to Eldest Builds and also Garage Town TV. He's been very helpful. Anybody wants to comment, let me know what you think. Our next big step, really, to be honest, is we've got to get the car up. It's going to have to come off of the trolley or the cart that we built for it, because the first step has to be getting the leaf spring back under there. All the front spindles and suspension and all that hinges on that, so that's got to go on first. And so we've got to get the car up at least 6 inches or so. I've got one jack, that's not going to do it. So anyway, if you got any suggestions on that, more than happy to listen and entertain it. Anyway, I appreciate you subscribing. I appreciate you watching. Stay tuned. I think it's getting better and better all the time. So we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.